We have not reached the end game where every single month, every time something releases that's art related, you can't help but question if it's actually genuine art or if it's actually AI slop. It is one of those things that it honestly sucks. Like, you have to now question and doubt every single little thing that comes out. And one of the biggest situations that happened recently is the Spider-Man AI art drama. Yes, I am saying Spider-Man AI art drama. I'm not mistaken. This isn't a mistake. This isn't some outtake that's gotten included in this video. This is actually what's going on. So let me give you a little bit more context on what exactly I'm even talking about. So I originally started with this post popping off, and it says selling an art book that has AI visuals and it should genuinely be illegal. Well, the Art of Spider-Man brand new day book sadly includes AI slop. Look at the traffic lights and fire escapes. So this is the image right here. Here's a better look at it. You can take pause the video, do your little look, see how things look. It's definitely image all time. I already know that you're probably looking at this right here. It's already been pointed out. Yeah, yeah, it's not a good look. It's questionable. It's also been addressed. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, this image alone has already stirred a lot of controversy. And then when we go back to the comments, you'll see some people say, look at the traffic light. Someone said, dude, the fucking taxi is melting. It says 2 billion movie is too cheap to hire a real artist. Disgusting. Said, yeah, this must be illegal. People deserve real art from real artists when they are buying the goddamn art book of the movie. Now I just want to be clear, because this is going to be clarified later on the response I'm going to read, but this is a concept art book. Now you could say, hey, Wasabi, what's the difference between a concept art book? And I'll tell you, the fact is that one is meant to be polished and another one is meant for you to see the behind the scenes and just see the imperfections of something before it becomes to a perfected, polished visual that you would see in the front facing media, if you want to call it that, right? Concept art is typically something that is usually just concepts. It's not meant to be polished. It's not meant to be flashy. So it's just meant to be a rough idea of something or what you're working on. Not really anything else. Now, you can have polished concept art. There's nothing to say you can't have that. But usually, quite usually, concept art is it's just concepts, and it's just unpolished work. That's the best way to put it. Anyways, let's continue. Another person said right here, it says, you had Insomniac Games just borrow their stuff if y'all were that desperate. How it feels to hate generative AI while it keeps popping up and everything. So I was like, how old is that model? I haven't seen errors like this in ages. And so, yeah, a lot of people are, pointing out a lot of different things, talking about just sort of the flaws or errors or issues. And I think this leads into another discussion as well too, not just on, hey, is this art AI? And then on top of that, if I'm going to release art in 2026, what is going to be the public perception? How are people going to view things such as like concept art, right? It's really, this is one of those things where I don't know how they marketed this book, but it seemed like a lot of people were under the impression, and this is, again, I've already read ahead on all this, so I'm kind of speaking with a little bit of knowledge on what the response is going to be towards this. But I wonder how this book was marketed, and so a lot of people are under the presumption that this is like your average art book that, let's say, you give for like a video game, where it's like complete finished things, or you get things that are clearly finished and the things that is clearly marked as concept art. I feel like they're just, from what people were talking, they were expecting some high quality, super in-depth renders and things that look really crisp and clean. And then when they get this, they're like, what the fuck is this? And so then we have this post right here. It says, publisher of the Spider-Man brand new day concept art book comes out explaining in detail which processes they use for specific art, having using the cloning tool and photo bash, admitting it was laziness but no AI usage. The company also has an anti-AI policies, which cap bullshit. Hold up, that's cap, bro. That's bullshit, you fucking liar. What the fuck? Ain't no goddamn way you just said that. And if you don't believe me, and go look into Disney AI ties. And I don't need to re-explain everything again. I have videos going over this as well too. But that is the biggest load of horse shit that I've seen in a hot minute. But we'll get into some replies people also made, pointing out the hypocrisy and the fact that that's not true. But let's read the actual response first all the way through and see what they had to say. So someone said, I really don't want to be rude, but I got to ask about this page. And they said, not rude at all. As far as I know, now, another thing I want to add on to this, keep very clear on the words that they use. They use very specific words, very specific statements. Keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on it. So he says, as far as I know, This isn't AI. I work on the publishing side of things, comics, and get the art assets from studios. These assets come from the full visual development team, which is comprised of both staff and freelance artists. I was told that some of the freelancers had used AI in their work to populate backgrounds, and any of the art that was flashed for AI use was either not provided for me to lay out in this book or was removed. Now, keywords, as far as they know, they were told, and says that any art flash was either not provided or was removed. Ryan, don't want to butcher her last name, himself went over every page to check for AI, as he was very strict about it. Now, another key word that he uses, now another key statement, I'm not saying it isn't possible that something slipped through, but this looks more like Photoshop's autofill again. That wonky taxi is more likely than removing something between two taxis, and Adobe pulled in the closest pixels to fill it, probably to try and remove a watermark, as a lot of freelancers will just take a pic they see on the internet, stitch it together, and paint on top of it, photo bashing, etc. Same thing with the fire escapes. That looks like a repeated copy and paste that you're never meant to really even look that closely at. Whatever the final result is here, it's ultimately on the artist, not Disney and Marvel. And I'm going to say right here, that's cap. That's fucking bullshit. That is completely wrong. And the reason I'm going to say that's because technically this book is being released under the Disney and Marvel brand and IP and every other term that you can come up with. It's literally them. It is their brand. This is what, it's not being sold under some unknown artist, and this is just some fan art that is being posted. This is literally an official Spider-Man Brand New Day art book or concept art book, and it's going to have the Disney and Marvel IP logo and branding all over it. Yes, it does reflect on them. Yes, it can reflect on the artist as well too. But to make a statement like this and say that on here, this is ultimately on the artist and not Disney and Marvel's cap, is bullshit. It reflects on the company no matter which way you want to spin it. That is a reason why you have companies like Disney and like Pokemon, or not even, well, Pokemon's at least own company, but Nintendo are so anal. They're so meticulous on how they have their IP of their characters be used in anything. They're so perfectly crafted in what they want you to see with them. Like, to try and pass this off as, oh, well, this isn't a Disney or Marvel problem, not their issue. It is, because they're naming a brand on it, and they're selling you for a price because it reflects by the brand that you're buying it from, which is a Disney and Marvel official concept art book. I hate that excuse. Yes, you can say it's on the artist, but it's also on Disney and Marvel. That is why they hire people, to make sure that they do a good job so that it reflects good on the company. And when it doesn't reflect good on them, that's why people usually get fired, because it looks bad on the company. No, like, that bothers me. I hate that. I fucking hate that statement so much. They continue by saying Disney/Marvel won't publish anything with AI because you don't legally own anything made with AI, and contracts stipulate it must be your wholly original work. Hasn't stopped any company before. Also, I'm not going to reveal it yet. We'll get to that in a moment. So anyone taking shortcuts in their art here or otherwise is making that decision personally. It isn't a mandate from the company. So that was their response. I think it's dog shit. Clear's response right here says the company has anti-AI policies. Yeah. I don't think anything else needs to be said about this. If you know where this is from, then you know that the Disney anti-AI policy isn't really as much as it's cracked out to be. Another person, they're just showing more of the messages. Not really anything special there. One person says, so all that discourse for nothing, no AI at all. It says, as far as I know, this isn't confirmation. LOL, absolute bullshit. It says, I'm all for bashing companies for using AI, but this was clearly a small case that didn't even use Gen AI. I just wish all that outreach was directed towards brands like Coke and anyone who makes content. I fucking hate seeing messages like that. Coke got dunked on, dog. All the companies that typically use AI get dunked on just as much as these companies get dunked on as well too. You might not personally see all the outrage that happens in the moment that situation is going on, but it does happen. What are we doing here? It's such a stupid comment, but tune on no versus, and this is I was just gonna read it and leave it at that. Cloning and photo bashing are basically manual AI. That's my response. And then their post right here, someone said, so like, is there anything actually proven that's not AI, or are we all just taking this "my uncle works at Nintendo" level post at face value? And that's also another thing that you can look at when it comes to this. It's like, is there actually any credibility to behind this person's post? Is there anything that actually has any merit to it? I couldn't tell you. But I mean, when it's like right here, it says it's not AI, here's my proof. The so-called proof says I was told that some of the freelancers that use AI in their work. I'm not saying it isn't possible that something slipped through. Like, again, that's the reason why I said earlier at the beginning of this video, pretty much like, hey, look for the keywords, look for the type of words that are being used here. Nothing is ever definitive. Nothing can be proven without a shadow of a doubt. They're just saying, no, I don't think that's AI. It could have been this. And hey, Disney has an anti-AI policy. Hold on. I'm not using my usual setup. Anti-AI policy. Actually, let's do it right here. Anti-AI policy. Tell me that company, that one has anti-AI policy. I don't buy that. No shot. Could be wrong, potentially, but I think that when you're doing things such as the things I just showed on screen, it's kind of hard for people to believe said company that they don't want to enforce or embrace AI. I think that that's a big cap, but that's just me personally. Anyways, just want to talk about this. Thought it's a very interesting situation all around. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that's been going on recently that I'll probably cover soon, but I just thought this was a very interesting topic, but I will leave it here. Let me know what you think in the comments.